messed up on the call. I'm sorry. Take 3, final take. Ah. Hi, I'm Chester Johnson. I'm the co-founder of the Stockteamup app, and today I'm here with Kevin Matthews, the founder of buildingbread.com. Kevin, thank you for joining me on this interview today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, with 10 years of investment advisory services, I'm surprised that you want to help people learn how to invest. You could always just keep on managing $1 million accounts. What's made you pivot? What was the big reason why you wanted to change your trajectory?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, it was access because I did manage dozens and dozens of $1 million accounts. But to a point, I wouldn't, my parents are millionaires. I wouldn't be able to manage their money and teach them how to invest in the stock market. Saw that there was a need there, and that I felt that the value I was providing was something that the majority of people should have access to.
Awesome. So, why Building Bread? Why the name Building Bread? And then why the classroom? From what I understand, the classroom setting, the education.
Yeah, so I started my career as a teacher in Dallas, Texas. I did Teach for America, and I actually taught math. So a lot of the classroom aspect, the way that I talk, the fact that I break things down in a very, very simple manner comes from that training. And I think that's probably made me a much better advisor, having been a teacher first. I didn't recognize it at the time, but when you're teaching, you're essentially public speaking the exact same speech or lesson like 7 times a day for 180 days. So I just took a lot of that and started doing it for the market. So that's how like that classroom feel, that's where that came from. But I started this whole thing from an internship I started in 2010. Worked for ING Investment Management. They're now Voya. At the time, I was a rising sophomore, rising junior, and had no idea what the stock market was. And I struggled that entire 10 weeks. And from that frustration, I said, look, I don't understand this. This cannot be this hard. And the more I read, the more I understood. I'm like, y'all are using all these terms for no reason. Like there was no the whole asset allocation and long and short. I'm like, come on, just buy and sell and it's not that serious. So from that, I decided I really need to break this down and let everybody know this is actually accessible. And that's how Building Bread started.
That's awesome. My biggest pet peeve is options. Options have a lot of intricate wording, but you're just buying a contract to buy something in the future. And it's really not more complicated than that. It really is not.
That's it. That's all it is.
You
Yeah, I
know,
have a friend who says it's essentially like buying an insurance contract. I'm like, oh, okay. That's it.
the worst is, and I'm biased because I'm an engineer by trade. I used to also be a hedge fund manager. And someone people come to me like, yeah, it's the Black-Scholes equations. You have to understand the Black-Scholes equations. And finally I got frustrated. I'm like, fine, I'll look at these Black-Scholes equations. And I looked at them and I'm like, wait, these are just like the Navier-Stokes equations, right? It's just about differential equations. And then everyone else, just way over their head, and it's actually almost the exact same structurally, the the equations, and it's never that complicated once you go one layer deep into finance.
Right. Right.
Oh man, I'm glad that you brought that up. I really get frustrated about these complicated terms confusing people. When you were struggling through going through all these terms and everything, what did you learn that would help other people learn these terms faster?
Yeah, well, a part of it was you only really need maybe like 5 or 6 terms, if that. But the main thing was, and I like to use a lot of analogies, it's the difference between being a mechanic and someone who just has a driver's license. And for you to reach financial freedom, whatever that may mean to you, all you really need is a driver's license. I cannot build a car worth anything. I can, however, fix a flat tire. I can put gas in the car. I know how to drive. That's all I really need. Like like you brought up the equation, like for a regular investor, you don't actually need that. It's nice to have, right? But you don't need to be a mechanic. And that's what I realized, like, okay, look, I can do this. This is actually much, much easier. If I want to know, how the sausage is made, totally fine. But that is not something that's required.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Uh, uh, you know, why why do they want? What do you want them when they leave the course or leave your instruction? What are the main things you need them to have before you leave your course?
Yeah, I think the main thing is to first understand that wealth building does take time, and that you're not going to leave my course or pick any app and become a millionaire overnight. Like that is highly unrealistic. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is that you do have the ability to learn and grow. I think a lot of people are in a what they call a fixed mindset, where it's like, well, I don't know math, I don't know the stock market, therefore I will never learn this ever. And that's not necessarily the case. You can always add those, even if they're tiny bits at a time, to start to grow and reach whatever goal you have. So I want people who come to the site, who interact with me, know that if you know nothing, you don't have to leave with nothing. That you can start on your way to investing, on your way to financial literacy, bit by bit.
Awesome. Well, I guess because Kevin, uh, your support with the Stock Boss Up app and everything, which I really appreciate. I have to ask you one question. Our
Mhm.
mission is to really get to the millions of people that don't even know about investing. It's just this other thing. It's other people's hobbies, other people's problem. I believe that
Mhm.
we need to get everyone involved in investing. Uh, what advice
Mhm.
can you give me in terms of reaching to people, and what do you do to reach out to people to get them motivated to learn about investing?
Yeah, I would say a lot of it is consistency. I mean, when I started in 2010, I would have my first seminar, I'd like pull up to a dorm room, get my PowerPoint, and like, hey, look, this is what you need to know about the stock market. And when I tell you it was two people that showed up, that was it. That was it. And it was painful at the time, but I had to keep going. And shout out to Jessica who showed up and Jasmine. Like those was the first two people. I still appreciate y'all to this day for showing up to that.
I guess
However,
I guess my
like
shout
that
out to Stephanie.
consistency
Thank you
starts to
for coming
build
to
more
my groups.
credibility.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
There you go. Yeah, but there you go. Like it started with two people. I had to end up buying pizza to get like 30 people to show up. But the whole point was like you have to that consistency starts to compound. Exactly like like your first stock. Exactly how compounding interest works in general. It starts somewhere, and the interest starts to build and build and build. And for me, it was putting out blog posts every week and doing videos on every weekday, and it started to grow until it became an entire radio show, until brands started to reach out and say, hey, look, we want you to come speak at Business Insider or whatever it was. So it's always about consistency. And you made whatever traction or audience you have, it may be 10, it may be 10,000, but it starts somewhere. And as long as you are consistent and as long as you're putting out quality, the people will start.
Awesome. Kevin, thank you so much for joining me today. Kevin Matthews, check out his site at buildingbread.com. And as always, check out the Stock Boss Up app and stockbossup.com. Kevin, thank you so much. That's
Yeah. And for me, I don't know, I feel like I'm in the minority of this, but I think one way to solve that is through the stock market. It's one of the least discriminatory ways. You
dude.
talk about like when you talk about housing, like there's clearly housing discrimination, there's clearly salary discrimination, but in the stock market is the one spot where everything is exactly equal.